Welcome back to the Hoop Bar. Let's get into the Suns versus Nuggets, Game 3. The Suns went into Denver and showed them why they are the second seed in the Western Conference and beat them pretty handily in Denver. Let's start off with Tony. What are your thoughts now after 3 games of the Suns-Nuggets series? Do the Nuggets have a chance to coming back at all, or is this series a complete wrap?
I think it's 3-0. It's no team has ever come back from 0-3 in a 7-game series in the history of the NBA playoffs. And the Joker has been playing not subpar, but he's been getting his numbers. It's just a supporting cast not hasn't supported him on a defensive end. And they're also missing Jamal Murray. He's an integral component to this team. Without Murray and lack of defense, lack of authority in some ways, and lack of intensity, they don't have a shot. It's the series is a wrap. It's over.
Ganz, do you agree with Tony, or do the Nuggets have a shot to come back?
Honestly, it's a game of chess. Because what we saw in the first series was Austin Rivers going out for 15 to 20. Aaron Gordon putting up 15 to 20. Michael Porter Jr., at least maybe 20 plus. Monte Morris still had a good game, but he was balling game after game. Now all these role players are struggling, all of them. I think Austin Rivers had 5 points. Aaron Gordon had 4 with a bunch of foul trouble, even when he tried to go into the post. Jokic still put up his 32. So I don't think it's so much a matter of Jamal Murray because he's been gone, but all of a sudden you have all these role players, and now, so it looks like it's all Monty Williams, the Phoenix Suns coach, who's made these adjustments, because that just doesn't stop happening when you're hot. So what's happening is Monty Williams made adjustments and said, okay, Joker, go ahead, get your 32, but we're going to concentrate on the efforts on all these role players, and it's working. You're seeing Joker gasping for air, tired. Dude's already been carrying the load, and he figured, Monty's like, okay, well, I think this would be instead of saying let's everyone else score, he's like, Joker's probably already tired from leading them in that first series. I think it's going to be easier to stop the role players. And that's exactly what they're doing. And you're seeing Joker out there gassed and tired and missing easy shots that he would do. Don't get me wrong. He still put up 32 points and had some amazing passes. But I think Monty Williams is effectively out-coaching the Denver coach here. That's what's going on. And yeah, there's no shot in them coming back unless they can make a counter adjustment. But what they're doing now is working brilliantly.
Rahul, do you agree with the Gons and Tony, or do the Nuggets have a chance?
I agree with the Gons and Tony. And I really thought the Nuggets were, after even game 1, they had a chance. After game 2, they had a chance because they have a lot of depth. But if you look at the box score, and, MPJ didn't show up last night, but Morris did, and Barton did, and Joker still had a triple double, which was kind of, we were wondering, they're not letting him pass the ball much. He still got 10 assists, but they're making it difficult. Ayton's really good. They've lost 3 games on an average of 18 points. So I give all the credit, like the Gon said. Monty Williams, I think he's not getting enough credit because CP3 joined that team, and CP3 is a great floor leader. Like Rondo was for the Lakers, but you have to have a smart coach as well that the players have bought into. So the Suns, all year long, they were top 10 in both defensive and offensive ratings. They've got a great leader on the floor. They've got a great leader on the sidelines. All these young players seem to have a lot of, for the lack of a better word, a lot of balls to take the shots and to go on the road and do what they need to do. They did it against us as well. So until I see otherwise, I don't see how the Suns are going to lose if they've won every game, 18. Oh, they've won each game on an average of 18 points. You just don't, not enough. You just don't have enough. Jamal Murray would have been helpful, but you don't have enough.
Yeah, they're on a 6-game winning streak after this, beating Lakers 3 straight and now 3 straight in Denver. This is a very, 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 very good Phoenix team. And with the Lakers, I believe they had them figured out after game 3, but with Anthony Davis out, they've just sailed since then. So with them being so good, winning 6 straight games, the shift kind of focused to Chris Paul. He's going to make it back to the Western Conference Finals again for the first time, since 2018 Rockets team that blew that series against the Warriors. Let me ask you guys this. Let's start with the Gons. Is this Chris Paul's best team?
Most talented team? I would say definitely not. I think Doc Rivers, even when Blake was at his prime and some of those role player assets they had, they made it pretty far, but I think it was a lack of coaching. Not to say Doc's a bad coach, still think he's better than Tyronn Lue, and chemistry. And that seems to always be, that sucked for Chris Paul because you saw him bring that team together and he got ridiculed for being a bully. The same thing with Houston. You heard rumors about him and Harden knocking along until he goes to a young team last year and leads them because they all buy into Chris Paul and the coach. And this is a perfect combination. You had the Phoenix Suns in the bubble that had won so many games in a row, and everyone was cheering for them. Not to beat the Lakers, of course, but to make the bubble playoffs because you're like, these guys are making an incredible run. So you had a team that was completely bought into the coach and the system. Credit Monty Williams last year, who knows what could have happened. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship, but if they had keep playing the way they're playing, maybe they could have made it past the first round. Now you take that team and a brilliant GM move, you add Chris Paul to that team, who himself is a leader and brings folks together, working with Monty Williams. The chemistry on this team is by far none better than chemistry Chris Paul's ever had on any other team. People are buying into the coach. People are buying into Chris Paul. That's what's making this team so special. So am I going to say it's the most talented team? It could be close. Probably not. But is this the team with the best chemistry where everything's working together and they're buying into the coach's system? And now you have another coach, a floor general, like a Rondo, but someone that still plays at a higher level? Yeah, with Chris Paul. I think it's an amazing fit. Credit to the GM, credit to the coach, and also credit to Chris Paul. And I think this gives him his best chance in terms of going far. But to answer your question, no and yes.
Tony, do you agree with the Ganz?
In terms of most talented team, I think when he was with Houston, although he wasn't the general, the team leader, it was Harden. But that team was one game away from beating the Golden State Warriors and moving on to the NBA Finals. However, Amit's right. I think with this team, current team, they have the best chemistry. And for Chris Paul's legacy to be top 5 point guard of all time, because if you name the top 5 point guard at the top of your head, they all have rings, they all have the accolades. And for Chris Paul to move into that echelon, he needs to at least get to the NBA Finals or win the whole thing, which would be very difficult as long as the Nets are there playing. But for his legacy, I think he needs to get to the NBA Finals. How will you look at Chris Paul's legacy? Because he's been plagued with injuries. Unfortunate with the Hornets. I mean, they also took the Spurs to 7 games in 2008, I believe, with David West. And with the Clippers, with Blake Griffin, that was a very talented team. The Hawks actually lost to Houston. They went to 7 games, although he was actually healthy in that series. But it's just been unfortunate for Chris Paul with injuries and bad luck pretty much. But this team has the best chance of going deep into the playoffs and perhaps making it to the finals.
Rahul, do you agree with these guys?
Well, for contention, I'm not going to count. I mean, I remember he took the Hornets to the playoffs, and I remember they played the Lakers and Kobe Bryant that year. I forgot what year it was, but it was early. It was one of his early playoffs. But then the Rockets and Clippers series, where the CP3 was on the Clippers and they were up 3-1 and they were about to go into the Western Conference Finals and they blew 3 games in a row. That was a really good team. It was really surprising to see that team not make it. And the Clipper curse kind of kicked in there. And then the Rockets versus the Warriors, like Tony and Ganz mentioned, where he was up 3-2 and didn't get to play in the last 2 games. So can you imagine if Chris Paul had played in either of those games, in game 6 or 7, they would have probably beaten the Warriors with Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, and Klay Thompson. And no one can say that, right? No one can say that. I mean, you can say the Raptors can say that, but there was a lot of injuries. But yeah, I just think that those 2 teams, especially that Rockets team, was really, really good. It was Harden prime. It was CP3 prime. They were up on the Warriors. This team has a lot of chemistry, and it goes to what LeBron said, that as good as he was, he's smarter on the Lakers. I think CP3 just keeps getting smarter, right? And that makes sense, more experience. His body might not be the same, but it's never like he needed his athletic ability to score. So I just think he's smarter. The chemistry is better. He's got a lot of young guns around him. I do think this is his best team, up and down in terms of talent and chemistry. I just think that he blew some opportunities earlier on in his career because he was injured. So with Chris Paul, it's going to come down to injury. We still have a lot of basketball left. We still have the Western Conference. We still have the finals. We still have, at least a game here for them. Is he going to be able to stay healthy? But yeah, I do think this is his best team.
Yeah, he had to adopt a plant-based diet in order for him to be more effective later on in the playoffs, where I guess the knock against CP3 was that he kept getting injured in the playoffs, which is true. He's a smaller player and he gets knocked around, and he needed to switch diets and make his body right. And I think it's at that point where he's made his body right. He had that weird shoulder injury game 1 against the Lakers, but looks like he's rebounded and could finally shoot threes again, which he couldn't do really much in the Lakers series. So I actually agree with the Gons. Is this his most talented team? No, it's that Rockets team. That Rockets team was really good. Chemistry-wise, though, I completely agree. He has that team on lock. Like the Thunder last year, they're just a much, much better version of that Thunder team last year. Devin Booker, he's going to be a superstar. That kid's really good.
Does it bother you when he does those little things that, maybe, okay, so we can't say he tries to injure players, but let's be honest. We see him, right? We see him kick his leg out. We see him knee people in the thighs. We see him go knee to knee with people. We see him throw an elbow up around a screen. Like, I love watching him because he executes. He just tears the defense apart. He gets in and dribbles around and forgot the term for it, but then he passes the ball out or shoots it from the mid range. But it's great watching him dissect the team. But then why does he have to go and do those things that make you say, well, why are you going to try to? I know you're going to say old school basketball, Tony. That's why I'm asking this question. But I always prefer skill over trying to find an advantage, right? If you can't keep up with the defense because they beat you and you kick your leg out, to me, you can call it old school basketball. To me, I call it you didn't prepare hard enough. That's how I feel about it. I wanted to get your guys' take on that. I don't like seeing that stuff.
Let's start with Tony. What do you think about Chris Paul's shenanigans, his tactics?
Well, I mean, if it works to his advantage, why not? Look at the glove. One of the probably top 10 point guards of all time. He was known for a trash talker, getting in people's faces and perhaps, throwing a little elbow here and there. It was just back then the rules were different and players adjusted to them. Now with, you have more 3-point shooting, more a 3-point emphasis. Now it's much more difficult to get away with those type of moves, like you said, Rahul.
Ganz, do you agree with Rahul about not liking CP3's tactics?
I mean, what is he doing wrong? At an early age, I played NJB. I played organized ball, and coaches taught us this from an early age, how to get in little things. And I'm sure every player does it, and we notice Chris Paul do it more than others. But why? Because the same reason the guys we all praise right now, John Stockton did it. When you don't have the athletic ability, you have to use these tactics. And that's what you're taught to do at an early age. In high school, people that I know that have played college, our friend Tam too, that played really good in high school basketball. The things he would do, because he's 5'4", but he was what, all league? I mean, against teams like Rahul School, Mayfair, and Artesia, I get what Rahul was saying, and the game has gone towards offense, which you're seeing it less because no one's really playing defense. But in a defensive-minded league that we used to watch, right, Tony, in the 90s, this was going on by every player, by Chris Childs, by Charlie Ward, by Tim Hardaway. That's what you're doing. That's what's taught growing up. Maybe it's deviated a little bit because everything's shoot a three and go, but I don't think he's doing anything wrong. And that's It's just pointed out, and we've seen Chris for over so many years, so we know he does it. But hey, power to him. So yeah, I don't see anything wrong.
I get what Rondo was saying. I'll say that. Rondo's saying that he has you all fooled and thinking he's a nice guy. He's not a nice guy. I can see that with Chris Paul. Like, I'm not asking him to be a nice guy to be a fan. I'm just saying that I feel like we found out a lot about Blake Griffin. And now, now you see Blake Griffin's antics, whether it's grabbing his trainer's head and putting it towards his crotch or whatever the stuff that Blake Griffin does, right? Whether he sunned Trae Young. If you ever look up a picture of Blake Griffin and Trae Young, and here's this kid, Trae Young, trying to get a picture of Blake Griffin, and he just got his head on his hand and he sunned him. And the stuff he does, I get it. But CP3, I feel like you're just going to injure somebody. And then what? Is it fair that you won a championship if you injure somebody? It's not even little things. It's like he just blatantly sticks his leg out. And I don't know if he's trying to injure them or he's just trying to hurt them for the series. I disagree with it because that's not basketball to me. Basketball is a beautiful chess game that requires a lot of skill. So I like to see it out of the game. But I get it. I get why people like to see it in the game.
Yeah, it's unfortunately for Chris Paul too. He's a small man amongst a land of giants in the NBA. You kind of have to get your edge where you can. Unfortunately in society, it's like a small man's mentality where they have to scrap to get whatever they can. I can kind of see that within the basketball realm for Chris Paul. Outside of the game, and out in real life, I can see where he's just a nice guy. But on the basketball court, people morph into different people. Like, look at Isaiah Thomas, the Detroit Pistons. Nice guy, but on the court, he was ruthless. What he did to Michael Jordan in the 80s. So, outside of basketball, inside of basketball, there could be two different people. But yeah, I kind of don't want to see those tactics roll. I kind of agree with you there. They need to litigate that a little bit more because he could injure someone. Look what he did to LeBron. And I think it's a little more personal for us because we are Laker fans, but he did.
He does it so he's so sly about it. You just, the things he does, it's not blatant. So you're like, oh, okay, well, he's not trying to hurt anybody. He actually is. He knows what he's doing. He's very smart. It's like he has a physical therapy degree because he knows exactly what angles to grab the arm or hit the knee, or like even Campazzo. I was watching game 2 and he like came off a screen and like kneed him right into his knee, and Campazzo was limping for 2 or 3 possessions. And that's just like, dude, you are really good at basketball, Chris Paul. You can get what you want. But when you try to cheat to win, then you I don't know, it taints it for me. That's all.
Thank you for watching this clip from the latest episode of the Hoop Bar. Check the description for a link to the full episode on Spotify. Please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.